that. Up high! Oh my goodness! He reached way back!
6 seconds to go. Giselle pulls up. Missed it short. Follow is there. It's Krishan Christmas.
Merry Christmas, man.
What's up, everybody? It is the final Straight Outta WAC After Hours show of the 2023-24 regular season. Just got done watching GCU dominate CBU to win its first outright regular season title of the Division I era. If you remember, the Lopes shared the title in 2020-21 with Utah Valley, but this year there's no sharing. 27-4 overall, 17-3 in WAC play, and a 21-point win to cap off the regular season championship run for the GCU Lopes. It was never really even close. I guess you could say it was close at 16-12 in the first half for CBU, but then bam, game was over after I think it was a 29-3 run right there before halftime. So GCU wins the WAC regular season title outright for the first time in the Division I era. They'll go into WAC Vegas as the 1 seed. They don't play till Friday. They play the early game on Friday, 6 o'clock on Friday at Orleans Arena. They'll get either Seattle U, Utah Valley, or CBU. One of those 3 teams. We'll get into that WAC brackets, the tournament brackets, here in just a little bit. Welcome everybody that's just joining in on the Straight Outta WAC After Hours. As we, like I said, we just watched GCU clinch their first outright regular season title, 68-47 over CBU. We also saw the CBU women's basketball team clinch the outright regular season title this afternoon with an overtime win, an 85-81 overtime win over GCU, the first time that the Lancers have won at GCU Arena under Jared Olson. And CBU did it without their starting point guard. Felipa Barros did not play today against the Lopes, who, pretty crazy. Nene Calhoun went 6 for 6 down the stretch from the free throw line. Daryl's here with me. We're going to talk about this Lopes game, and we're going to get into some other games. If you have any questions, share those with us as we get into this WAC, Straight Outta WAC After Hours show. I don't know if my internet's great. It shows that I only have 1 bar. It says connection's unstable. Good times. So I'm going to bring in Daryl. And, Daryl, the final day of the regular season has come and gone. I don't feel like there was any real surprises. I think things kind of played out the way I thought they were going to. The only maybe surprise that I had was that Utah Valley swept that West Texas road trip by beating Tarleton and ECU. But other than that, I don't think I had any other surprises today.
That's impressive to do that, to sweep that trip for the Utah Valley men. Shout out to Utah Tech, who took care of SFA at home in the home finale for Maggie McCord and Brianna Gillen. That really was the biggest, I would say, surprise on the women's side, but not really. I mean...
Yeah. Yep. Go ahead.
Utah Tech is having a really good year. And Tarleton fighting their way into the 8th seed, beating Seattle at the Red Hawk Center. Nice win for Bill Brock and company. Southern Utah beating UTRGV to clinch. And look, these were all close games, too. I mean, really, the only close, not close game was at the UCCU Center, where Abilene Christian just went off on Utah Valley.
Well, I mean, it's hard not to go off when you shoot. Oh, what did they shoot? It doesn't show it here. They shot 52% from the field. They were 11 of 31 from 3-point range. They out-rebounded the Wolverines by 19. Bella Earl nearly had a triple-double. Peyton Hull scored like the first 12 points of the game for ACU. So, yeah, I mean, just a well of a ball game from ACU after that bad game they had on Thursday against Seattle U. And Yeah, Daryl. It's just a wild night. I don't want to say wild because nothing was really wild about it, right? CBU won at GCU. That might be the wild one because the CBU women have never won at GCU. Grand Canyon won it outright, definitively, right? They trailed by 4 at one point in the first half, and then it was game over, right? I mean, it was over with like 5 minutes left still in the first half. SFA won pretty definitively over Utah Tech to knock Utah Tech out of WAC Vegas on the men's side, right? Tarleton beat Seattle U. That game was a little bit closer than I think people thought, but Tarleton finished off the season on a winning note, and they go into WAC Vegas as a 2 seed. And then, the Tarleton women and the Seattle U women game, I mean, that game was down to the final wire or final buzzer in the fourth quarter. And, Bill Brock's team got it done over Skylar Young's in a battle of first-year head coaches trying to get to their first WAC tournament, right? And then Tracy Mason's team bounced back from that epic, I want to call it an epic collapse because they had a 26-point lead against SFA. And here they are going to WAC Vegas because they beat UTRGV on the final day of the regular season. So it's going to be a fun tournament this next week. It starts on Wednesday. The seeds, I believe, are set. I think I tweeted those out for everybody. I was talking to the WAC this afternoon just to kind of confirm those. I don't think anything changes after tonight's, outcome between GCU and CBU. So for the men, it'll be SFA versus ACU, that rivalry between the Jacks and the Wildcats, where both games, the first game went to overtime, where SFA won at ACU. Second game came down to a last-second shot by Arian Simmons, where ACU beat SFA at SFA. So what are we going to get in WAC Vegas, Daryl? It's going to be awesome. Everybody that's watching, share your thoughts, share your comments. What do you think about today's outcomes? What do you think about the WAC tournament coming up? What's the big thing you're looking forward to? We're going to come back and talk about these brackets, talk about kind of what we're looking for, what games are intriguing in these first 2 first-round games of both the men and the women. Lots to chew on here as we get into this Straddle WAC after hours. GCU just beat CBU to clinch their first outright regular season title of the Division I era. They did it convincingly, 68-47 over the Lancers. Held the Lancers to 27% shooting tonight. So Bryce Drew's starters got some rest because they were up so big in a game that was really never close. We'll have a comment here before we go to a little bit break. I'm going to try and there it is. It was there. My internet's acting up, guys. Tim Lopes up, WAC champs. Hope to see you guys in Vegas. Thanks for the incredible coverage this season. Not a problem. We love doing it, right, Daryl? This is what we love to do.
That we do. And are we going to go in depth on the last day's games before we hit the bracket, or?
Well, I mean, Southern Utah got a road win over UTRGV on the men's side to cap, the season for both those teams. They will not be going to WAC Vegas. So Rob Jeter's crew gets a win in the final regular season game of the year for both the T-Birds and the Vaqueros. We're going to see what happens with both teams in the offseason. I know talking to both staffs, there's a lot of things they desire. Let's just put it that way, and we'll see what they do going into the offseason. Everybody share your thoughts. The hat is nice. Yes, Tim, it is nice. It is the West Virginia Black Bears. They are a minor league team of the Pittsburgh Pirates. I was out in West Virginia a couple of years ago, went to one of their games, decided to buy one of their hats. It does look nice. Thank you for the compliment. I got asked that same question today at the UCCU Center, Daryl. Somebody wanted to know where my hat was from. But it's a minor league team, the West Virginia Black Bears. So we'll be right back, 30 seconds, coming back, and we'll talk about the bracket for WAC Vegas.
WAC Vegas is back. The best fans, championship basketball, all in exciting Las Vegas. Join us March 13th through the 16th at the Orleans Arena for the 2024 Hercules Tires WAC Basketball Tournament. Don't miss the crowning of a men's and women's champion. For more information, go to wacsports.com/WACVegas.
Okay, we're back. My internet is being spotty. It is Saturday night here in Utah. I don't know why it gets like this. I'm connected to an Ethernet cable, everybody. So if my internet causes problems, I'm sorry. I'm trying to do the best I can. It's either wireless, Wi-Fi, or Ethernet. Usually Ethernet is what they prefer here. So anyways, Daryl, let's talk about this bracket. All right, I'm going to pull it up. I think I have it all put together. Let's see if I can bring it in. We'll see. Let's see if I can bring it in here. What did I download it as? Sorry, guys, we're trying to pull up the bracket right now. I think I put it together. I don't know what I downloaded it as. There it is. Okay. We're coming. I'm coming. I promise. Here we go. It's uploading right now. But one thing to note on the men's side, Daryl, and you might like this, and you saw it. On the men's side, it's non-Texas schools on one side. It's all Texas schools on the other side. How crazy is that?
Special Agent Gibbs from NCIS would say there's no such thing as coincidences. But yeah,
here's what I think the brackets are going to look like, obviously. On the right side, you have your women's. On the left side, you have the men. On Thursday, we'll get Southern Utah versus UT Arlington. And then we'll get ACU versus Tarleton in that 6-7 game. So, and then on the men's side, obviously, the first game of the night on the men's is Utah Valley versus CBU. Utah Valley's won both games in the regular season. They annihilated CBU a couple weeks ago in Fowler Event Center. And then you got SFA, ACU. Woo! That's going to be a doozy on the men's side. But let's talk about a couple of these matchups, Daryl. What do you like about these first two matchups on the women's side? What are you looking for between those two teams, between these two games?
We'll start with game 2, that ACU Tarleton game. ACU struggled in Stephenville. Wildcats will get another shot at Bill Brock's team. And Bill Brock's team, you talk about the Texans. They were kind of like Seattle. 3-4 weeks ago, I think we all had them written off as missing WAC Vegas.
Yep.
And here the Texans are. The win-loss record might show not a whole lot of improvement over last year, but they got to Vegas, and that's really the biggest goal for Bill Brock, as he was trying to lay a foundation there at Tarleton. On that upper half, you have UT Arlington and Southern Utah. Southern Utah showed what they could do, just how good they could be if they could just put a full 40 minutes together. Having SFA down by 6 at one point Thursday night.
26 on Thursday night.
And UT Arlington, maybe a little something to prove going to Vegas after losing to CBU in a game that, for the most part, was not as close as the final score said it was. The winner of that Southern Utah UTA game will play Utah Tech on Thursday, and then the winner of the lower half game will play SFA. I'm excited for both of these games. I think they're going to be some pretty good games. I don't foresee a lot of blowouts on the women's side. I think we're going to be in for a good, fun couple of days in Vegas.
Yeah. So I'm looking it up here. Who am I looking at? UT Arlington. So UT Arlington, where are you at? Southern Utah. There they are. So they beat Southern Utah in Arlington by 26 points. And then they beat Southern Utah in Cedar City 78-70. So it's hard to beat a team 3 times, right? Like, that's what we say all along. It's hard to beat a team 3 times. So that'll be interesting to see if UT Arlington can keep it rolling against the T-Birds, the success they've had this year. On the flip side, like we said, ACU beat Tarleton by 22 at Moody Coliseum and then lost in Stephenville 2 weeks later, 74-66. So they split the season series. So should be a fun one. I'm going to look at this. Nathaniel, did GCU really luck out and avoid Tarleton and UTA until the final? Yep, they sure did. Because they were going to play Tarleton before them because Tarleton had locked up the 2 seed. And then because Tarleton beat Seattle U, UTA solidified the 3 seed today. So yes, they are on the opposite side of the bracket of GCU. But here's the other kicker, though. Don't just discount the bracket that GCU has, because Seattle U's already beat them once this year. And they needed overtime to beat Seattle U. So who knows what could happen? And Utah Valley's won like 7 of 8 down the stretch. They just swept Tarleton and ACU, who GCU lost to in those same arenas, right? They're all like, anything can happen in this tournament.
Yeah, it's part of the joy of championship week. But then again,
look at the comment. Luck is the wrong word. My bad. No, you're good, Nathaniel. I mean, it's. I don't want to say it's luck. It's just the way that it played out, the way that the season played out, and I'm still sticking by my thought. Nobody wants to see UT Arlington in the WAC tournament. Nobody. I'm sticking by that, and I'm going to stick with it. I think it's still GCU's to lose, but nobody wants anything to do with UT Arlington the way that they've been playing down the stretch here. That's just my thought. Jonathan Shesky, Buckets. Appreciate the coverage this season, guys. Looking forward to this WAC tournament. Yes, we are too. It's going to be fun. Speaking of Buckets, he was on the call today for SFA Utah Tech. And, I think we were both of the same opinion. With AJ Kajust back for SFA at the point guard position, their ball handler, they're a guy that can attack the rim. SFA could be dangerous too. That's why it makes that Texas bracket intriguing, because one, you have a rivalry game to start, right? Between SFA and ACU. Then in the second round, you get a UT Arlington team that's been really good this season, or at least down the stretch here, that's healthy, right? And then you get a Tarleton team who finished second in the WAC regular season standings.
Kyle, on the AJ Kajust front, is it worth it to burn any chance at the red shirt?
I don't know. I don't make those decisions. I don't get paid the big bucks to make those decisions. I'm not in the player's shoes, so I don't make those decisions. He made the decision to come back, and I think SFA is going to ride it. I think they're going to ride it. They've looked good in both their games this week. And I think they ride it. I really do. I think that SFA could be dangerous. I said it earlier today. I think they could be dangerous. The way they play defense, the way they get after you. Now they have a scorer back in AJ Kajust. I think they're very dangerous. But man, that UT Arlington team, they're going to be a tough out in that WAC quarterfinal, even WAC, if they get to the WAC semifinals. So awesome to see. Let's see here. Mikey Chavez would rather see Utah Valley instead of Seattle from GCU. Yes and no. And the only reason I say that is because Utah Valley 1 is playing better now that Ethan Potter has stepped. Somebody said it today when I was at the Utah Valley ACU women's game that Ethan Potter could play himself right into an all-WAC selection the way he's been playing down the stretch for Utah Valley. And the Wolverines have won 16 games under first-year head coach Todd Phillips. That is the most since Dick Hunsaker back in 2003. Mark Pope didn't win 16 games. Mark Madsen didn't win they didn't win 16 games in their first season at Utah Valley. So, man, huge. I don't know if GCU wants to see either one of them because they're both going to be up for challenges. On the flip side, if GCU plays the way they did tonight, I don't think it's going to matter who they play. So,
yeah, if GCU's men play like they did tonight, no one's stopping them.
Yeah.
In terms of who they want to see, I don't know that Bryce Drew cares one way or the other.
Right.
I mean, Utah Valley certainly has something to prove, especially after the dunk that ended the game at Global Credit Union Arena.
Say hi to the crowd. Hey guys, here's my son Cooper. He finished up his junior jazz season today, huh?
Dad, Sassy threw up in your room.
Thank you. My dog just threw up in my room. I appreciate my son coming and telling me that. That is my son Cooper.
Yeah, she's in trouble now.
My dog's in trouble. She threw up in our room, I guess. But that's my little guy Cooper. He has a birthday on Friday. I won't be there for it. So WAC fans, you better appreciate the fact that I'm going to miss my son's birthday to be covering the WAC tournament in Las Vegas. But back to this bracket. What were you saying? You were talking about Bryce Drew.
So
not caring who they play.
I don't think that GCU is going to care who they play either way. I mean, You've got two teams that are eager to prove themselves. Seattle, who's already beaten GCU, and Utah Valley, especially after the way that first game ended at Global Credit Union Arena with the dunk with, 5 or 10 seconds left on the clock, right?
Yep.
You got to
But
think
here,
Wolverine fans are
let's
fired
go
up.
to that dunk. Let's talk about that dunk. Back in what was that, January? Noah Amenhauser is a GCU fan favorite. He even hesitated, like he didn't want to dunk it, but I think he just got egged on by the crowd and by everybody else just to throw it down. It happened. Take what it is. I mean, I'm a Utah Valley guy. They called a timeout to set up a press. So, and they still had starters in the game. So, I don't have any problem with it. All right. So, I don't think Bryce Drew is going to care who they play at the WAC tournament. They're just going to want to win. That's all it is about, right? That's all that it's about. Let's go to this other one. Nathaniel, any WAC teams on the men's side in play to make the NIT or CBI? Doubtful. With the new NIT rules where the regular season champion doesn't have an AQ to the NIT, it's all about at large, and I don't know that they'll take Tarleton. I don't know that they'll take UT Arlington. I just don't. CBI is a different story. Usually you have to pay to play in that, or you have to agree to come back another year if you played in 1 year. So I just don't think anybody's going to the NIT this year. I just don't. Because here's the thing. Like I said, there's no AQ for a regular season champ. GCU's chance of having an at-large berth in the NCAA tournament isn't there. They might get an invite to the NIT if they don't win the WAC tournament. But they have a better chance than most because if Tarleton wins it, GCU goes. I think it all depends on what happens Saturday night, right, Daryl? I just don't know the answer to that question.
And the rules on the women's side are a little bit different. There is a new tournament on the women's side, the WBIT. It's operated by the NCAA. The old WNIT auto bid on the women's side goes now to the WBIT representative. And then you have the WNIT and the CBI. So the rules are a little bit different on the women's side. There is a possibility for some WNIT or CBI action for some of the other teams other than the NCAA tournament AQ.
Yep.
But we'll just have to see what happens this week. Of the teams at the top half, I think GCU has a pretty good shot if they want to go to the WBIT or the WNIT.
If they don't win the WAC tournament.
If they don't win the WAC tournament, yes.
Yeah.
CBU will have the auto bid to the WBIT if they don't win the WAC tournament. SFA could do some damage in a tournament, and Utah Tech could do some damage in a tournament. Although the WBIT rules prohibit transition schools.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Jason, Tarleton swept all three. I'm assuming you say ACU, SFA, and UT Arlington. Yes, they did. They swept all three, so they have an advantage there. But again, beating a team 3 times in a season is extremely difficult. Extremely difficult. Even Allen says it's 6-0 against the other 3 Texas schools in the regular season. You're right. But can they do it a third time? That's the big question. Can they do it a third time?
And on a neutral floor.
On a neutral floor. Yeah, it's not Wisdom Gym anymore either. I know that they won the games on the road against those teams, but whole different atmosphere at Vegas, especially when you have a week off almost to prepare for those teams who's 1 or 2 of them could play 2. Maybe it'll be their 3rd game of the week. It's just one of those things. Guy closing out 10-10 with what we lost at the halfway point. ACU, if shooting well, can make a run. He's talking about the ACU women. Yes, they could.
But if they get through Tarleton in that second round game against SFA, they've had the Lady Jacks on the ropes both times.
Yep.
They've just got to be able to finish it out.
Yep. They should have won both games too. And they have a win over CBU. So yes, Julie Goodenough's team could do some damage if they can get hot or stay hot after today. I mean, they shut the lights out. They're going straight to Vegas from Orem. I talked to one of their assistants today, and they said they're just heading down I-15 to Las Vegas to get ready for the WAC tournament.
That's what I'd do. I'd stay in time zone. It doesn't make any sense to go home.
Yep. Ethan Potter has been great, but even still feel like GCU matched up really well with UVU, and Seattle always plays 10 times better when they play GCU. Yeah. I mean, I think the UVU GCU matchup is a little bit more even than people think. The only thing that I think is a huge advantage for GCU is the guard line, because the guards are bigger for GCU, and Jaden McClanahan has not what you would call a big guard for Utah Valley. That's just my opinion. He plays big, but he also is like 5'7", 8'9" at the most. So yeah. Michael Bolin, happy birthday, Cooper. It's Cooper with a K. Just want to point that out. But thank you, Michael, for wishing him a happy birthday. Nathaniel, no, the times on the bracket are Pacific time. They're Vegas time. So if it's 6 p.m. Vegas time, it's 8 p.m. Central time. 12 p.m. is 2 p.m. Central time, and so forth and so on. So, Justin, good to hear you guys. Greetings from Arkansas. Thanks for tuning in. Just chilling out here, talking about WAC hoops as we get ready for WAC Vegas. That tips off on Wednesday afternoon, 12 p.m. At the Orleans Arena. UT Arlington women take on Southern Utah women in the 5-8 game. And then the second game of the day, ACU Tarleton in the 6-7 game. Then we have the two men's games. Let's see, Jason, assuming again he's responding to the comment I made about beating a team 3 times. Yes, it is challenging. All the purple teams are on the safe side of the women's bracket. Yes, Michael. Daryl, talk about that. Look at it. We got on the men's side, we got all Texas schools on one side, all the non-Texas schools on the other side, and on the women's bracket, we have all the purple schools on one side and all the non-purple schools on the other side. Like, I didn't even think about that. Michael just pointed that out. That's awesome.
It just happened to work out that way, which means somebody better bring their whites or their alternates. Otherwise, we're going to be looking at double purple.
Are we going to have one? I think the purple teams have black uniforms too, so I'm curious to see if they bring their black uniforms. That's a good point, Mike. I like that.
I like that. Talk about that one question on Twitter. Somebody was asking about why the WAC women's finals at 10:30.
We're going to get to that in a minute. No UTRGV in either bracket. Yeah, Ray, I'm sorry. They didn't make it. Neither team did this year. Rough day. Rough year for both teams. Injuries depleted both teams. I think they'll be back next year. You know, they'll fill their rosters, get some more depth, and we'll see them back in WAC Vegas. Michael, sorry, Cooper. No worries. We just named it we named him with a K because my first name starts with a K, so he had to take after his dad. Are we going to get some bracket predictions? Should we do a bracket prediction, Daryl, right now, or should we wait till maybe Monday?
Save that for a later show.
Yeah, we're going to do a straight out of WAC after hours on Monday night, guys, and we'll put out our bracket predictions then. All right. And Monday, the WAC will officially be putting out their yearly awards. Also, Player of the Year, all WAC teams, all those other awards, Coach of the Year. So those awards are voted on by the coaches. We will put out the WAC Hoops Nation awards Monday morning before the WAC does theirs. The ones that you voted on as the fans, if you haven't seen them, they're pinned. The one for the men is pinned. The women's one, I'll retweet it here in just a minute so you can find those for those. Do you expect any coaching changes on the men's side this year? Well, we saw Billy Gillespie sign a 2-year contract extension, Daryl, so that's not going to change, even though we thought maybe Joseph Jones could be in the line if Billy wasn't going to come back. Whew.
I don't know if I expect any on the men's side.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
UTRGV, I think Matt Feger deserves a chance with a fully healthy team, and I think Rick Croy deserves the same chance at CBU.
Yeah, I mean, they were 6-3 with Dom Daniels, so they were on their way to WAC Vegas easily. But then he goes down with a knee injury. The leading scorer in the WAC at the time, goes down with a knee injury, and it just derails the entire season, right? Even though they get to WAC Vegas, just derails it. So
I think both those guys deserve chances with a fully healthy roster, and then
yeah, I do too.
Let admins do what admins do.
Yeah, that's the big thing. So, no, Jason, I don't expect any coaching change. I mean, if we do, it'll be a coach that is leaving for a higher up job, I guess you could say, right? But like that's the only thing. Maybe Bryce Drew takes one of those bigger jobs that's open right now. That might be a possibility. And maybe Joseph Jones. Maybe I know him and Billy are, tied together, but he's going to have some offers with what he's done for Tarleton this year. So we'll see what happens there. But I don't know that I expect many coaching changes at all on the men's side. Robert, what seed do you see the WAC winner getting the NCAA tournament on the men's side? Most have GCU at a 12 seed right now. They were as high as like a 9-10 seed, but those losses to Tarleton and ACU earlier a couple of weeks ago just kind of derailed that thought. So I think a lot of the bracketologists have GCU as a 12 seed. Have you seen any different, Daryl, from what you've seen?
Not much. And on the women's side, you're looking at a 14 or a 15.
Yeah. It's just because the WAC is so low in the totem pole on the women's side and some of the conference rankings. So I would say a 12 seed, just like usual, just because if GCU wins those games at Tarleton and ACU, they're probably a 9 or 10 seed, but they're going to be a 12 seed. I think somebody had them playing in Pittsburgh against BYU. I'm hoping they get to Salt Lake City in that 5-12 game. It just depends on where South Carolina ends up because they don't want to see a GCU South Carolina rematch. Oh, all right, guys, we're going to take a 30-second break. We're going to be back. What were we going to talk about after the break, Daryl? There was something you had mentioned.
Why the WAC finals being played at 10:30 a.m. on a Saturday. I think somebody.
That's right. We got a question that popped up tonight of why the women's games are always in the morning or why they're not in prime time like the guys' games, plus why the women's championship is at 10:30 in the morning on Saturday. We will discuss that right after this 30-second break.
WAC Vegas is back. The best fans, championship basketball, all in exciting Las Vegas. Join us March 13th through the 16th at the Orleans Arena for the 2024 Hercules Tires WAC Basketball Tournament. Don't miss the crowning of a men's and women's champion. For more information, go to wacsports.com/WACVegas.
All right, guys, we're back. So tonight there was a question posed. I really want to go back and find it where I tweeted about it. The question was asked. Here was the tweet. Let me get to it. I got to go back here. Okay. So here's the tweet, Daryl. Let's read this. Why is every single primetime WAC sports tournament game for the men? I'm open to hear actual reasons I'm unaware of, but even the women's championship is at 10:30 in the morning on Saturday. Okay, first off, let's be clear. The reason I'm going to pull this off, this overlay, the bracket. The reason the women's championship is at 10:30 a.m. on Saturday morning instead of maybe the usual 2:30 p.m. is because the WAC worked it out to get that game on one of the ESPN linear network channels. It'll be on national television live, not like a tape delay on national television like they've done over the years. It'll be on national television at basically 1:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Lunchtime.
So people on the East Coast can watch it. Yeah, it is a prime time spot for that women's game. Not many other conferences will say that their women's championship is going to be on one of the ESPN linear networks, right?
Yeah.
Like it was huge to get this on that channel.
Yeah, no.
I believe it was it ESPNU? It says it right here.
ESPNU, yeah. And we know who the crew is if we're allowed to announce it.
So it's huge. That's a time slot that ESPN offered to get the women's championship. Yeah.
And as to the earlier games, every conference does it this way, where when you have the men and the women at the same site, the women are playing early and the men are playing the later session.
Yeah, and it's part of it's not a WAC decision per se. It's an ESPN decision of what games they want to put in what spots, right? And the eyes for men's games in the WAC are much more significant than the eyes for a women's game. And that's nothing against the women at all, right? We still cover them. We love covering women's basketball in this league, right, Daryl?
Yes.
But it's about the eyeballs that will be on the games at specific times.
And if you ask all 11 coaches in the WAC, would you trade playing at 10:30 Saturday on national television for a later window on ESPN Plus? They would say, "Give us the 10:30 game. We'll have our shoot around at 7."
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Let's bring the also interesting that 2 seed on the men's side gets ESPN2, but 1 seed is ESPN Plus. That's just again, it's the time slot that was available for one of those games to be on the ESPN linear networks. That's how this thing works. Is ESPN gives them a slot and says, "Do you want this for whatever game you have scheduled at this time?" You know, it's an opportunity for the WAC to make a decision, and they made a decision that whoever the 2 seed is in that second semifinal, that's the slot that they gave, that they were offered, that they took. Why wouldn't you want more games on the ESPN linear networks if you can take them? That's just how it worked out. So, like I said, it's nothing against the women. It's not like it's a snide, just dissing of the women's tournament by having them play at noon and 2:30. Okay, it'll be 3:30 Eastern time when the first, when
game one tips off.
3 o'clock Eastern time when the first game at WAC Vegas tips off on the women's side, right? It'll be what was the other time? It was 4:30, so it'll be 6:30 Eastern time when the other. So technically, it is in prime time, right? Both those games are technically in prime time by Eastern time standards.
Yeah.
Which you want more eyeballs from the East on these games. That's exactly what you want.
Yeah, I think the way that it's being done, even in the other conferences. I've been watching games most of the week from the Big South and some of these other conferences, and they all do it the same way.
Here's something I want to point out, okay? This is something that maybe people will comment on this, okay? How many people know that the Pac-12 women's basketball tournament has been going on this weekend? How many? Anybody? Raise your hand, say yes, no, whatever. I had to be reminded of that today. Their women's championship game is tomorrow, right? On Sunday. I haven't seen much about it on Twitter at all, okay? Think about next Wednesday when there's men's games going on, there's a women's tournament going on, and you're getting people at 3 o'clock Eastern time, 3 p.m. Eastern time, they're watching these women's games because they're on ESPN Plus right there. Or on Saturday morning, wow, there's a women's championship game on ESPNU. Why don't we check it out? I don't know, Daryl. I feel like it's a good spot for the women's basketball tournament to be in because those games, men,
it's what the WAC has been working towards, is getting more games on ESPN linear properties since they signed this television deal, and we're starting to now see that bear itself out. Getting this game at 10:30 Pacific, 1:30 in the afternoon on a Saturday, or whenever they're going to go live to it, if the game preceding it goes long, this is a win for the WAC. Plain and simple, this is a win for the WAC.
Yep.
And Brian Thornton and Drew Sproul.
Think about this too. The men's games, the first men's game every night tips off at 6 o'clock. That is 9 o'clock Eastern time. That is not prime time. That is late on the East Coast. The second one tips off at 8:30 Vegas time, which is 11:30 Eastern time. So do you really think it's a benefit to the men to play so late at the WAC tournament?
I mean,
just saying.
It's perfect for our time zones, but not for the Eastern time zones where everything
right. Eastern time zone or Central. I mean, think about it. With ACU and Stephen F. Austin playing that late game, it will be 10:30 p.m. in Nacogdoches in Abilene for their fans to watch those games. Just think about that. I think we're there's a complaint being made here that isn't real. Is kind of, I don't want to say petty, but it's kind of off the beaten path because the women's games are technically going to be in prime time per Eastern time zone standards and Central time zone standards.
Yeah,
so
agreed. And I bet, again, like I said, if you asked all 11 coaches if you would take 2 o'clock on ESPN Plus on Saturday or 10:30 on ESPNU Saturday, all 11 of them to a T would probably say, give us the 10:30 game. We'll have our shoot-arounds at 7:30 or 8.
Yep. They would all want to play on national television. Doesn't matter. And the good news is both the women's semifinals end early enough that they'll get some rest before that early tip-off, before those winners tip off. Yeah. So here's another thing. Hunter just pointed this out, and I'll get to a couple other ones here. Nathan, I'd rather be on national TV as a player too. Yep, 100%. Mikey, anyone else feel like Tyne doesn't get enough love for his defense? Top 10 in the league for steals and blocks. Yeah, I mean, I want to say yes and no. I mean, there's just, I think he's going to win a lot of awards. Let's just put it that way. On Monday, evening when the WAC awards come out, I think he's going to win a lot of awards. Hunter can't even get on the best thing Scott Van Pelt saw today because they're playing so late. He's talking about the men. Okay, the men's games will still be going on when Scott Van Pelt comes on ESPN SportsCenter. So tell me how they get primetime spots at the WAC tournament. That doesn't make sense. That is not a valid argument because they're going to be on so late that they won't even get on SportsCenter till the next morning if they do. Anyways, sorry, I'm passionate about this thing because I think the women have a great window here for their games, right? They have a better window for their games than the men do.
Yeah, and they're going to get national level broadcast talent calling the games.
Yeah, Dave Feldman, I'm so excited to see Feldy. He is awesome. And Mike O'Donnell.
He'll be joined by Kia Stokes on the women's side.
Yep.
A player for the Las Vegas Aces and who played for Dino Auriemma at UConn. So we're gonna get good crews calling our games. We're in a good spot where the Eastern time zone can see our games. National branding is gonna, for whoever makes that final, is gonna be helped by the fact that we're playing at 1:30 in the afternoon Eastern Saturday.
All right, guys, we're gonna come back in 30 seconds to wrap this up. Share your predictions for those first round games at WAC Vegas. I will leave up I'll show you the bracket again. Leave up your predictions for the men and for the women's first round games. Let's hear them and let's see what you got. And we'll break it down. We'll be about 30 seconds coming back and we'll close out the show with some of those predictions.
WAC Vegas is back. The best fans, championship basketball, all in exciting Las Vegas. Join us March 13th through the 16th at the Orleans Arena for the 2024 Hercules Tires WAC Basketball Tournament. Don't miss the crowning of a men's and women's champion. For more information, go to wacsports.com/WACVegas.
All right, guys, bring the bracket here. Share some comments on your prediction for the UT Arlington versus Southern Utah women, who advances to play Utah Tech, ACU versus Tarleton, who advances to play the Lady Jacks, and then on the other side, SFA men versus ACU, who wins that rubber match between the Jacks and the Wildcats, and then Utah Valley CBU. Who do you got moving on to the quarterfinals? Share those with us as we break this down. Daryl, let's see here. Let's get some thoughts. Who are the men getting to announce the games? So I don't know who's doing it on Friday night. I do know that it'll be Dave Feldman and Mike O'Donnell on Saturday for the championship game. They called the championship game last year. But I don't know who's doing Friday night. I'll have to find that out. I'll have it on Monday and the Straight Out WAC After Hours on Monday after the postseason awards are announced. Dallin, maybe I'm biased. Maybe it's because I'm biased and want to call more basketball games this year, but give me SUU women beating UTA to kick off WAC Vegas.
Yeah.
Dallin picking the 8 seed to knock off the 5 seed. Nice. I like it. He does call games for the SUU women at home on the broadcast, so that'll be interesting. Let's see. Logan, UVU over CBU, ACU over SFA in the men's side. Nice picks. You are a UVU guy, though, so I have to take your picks with a grain of salt, right? Robert, SFA beats ACU and CBU beats Utah Valley. Now, be careful with that. CBU hasn't been really good down the stretch here. And Utah Valley beat them by 21 in Riverside a few weeks ago. So,
Kyle, the biggest question for CBU now is the health of Scotty Washington after he missed most of tonight's game.
Yep. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The Lancers have lost 8 of 10 since Dom Daniels Jr. went down with that knee injury.
Then
they lost that Seattle U game. So technically it's 9 of 11.
Speaking of CBU broadcasting, congratulations to our good friend Braden Bell, who will get to do the radio for Sirius XM for the tournament.
Nice. Let's see here. Alan, men ACU, I want to say UVU, and then women UTA and ACU he has moving on. Nice picks. I like them. Let's see here. Logan thinks UT Arlington wins it all. Woo! That's a doozy. GCU fans watching this right now are probably liking that thought because it puts a lot of pressure on UT Arlington. However, KT Turner's team has played really, really well down the stretch. I believe they finished off winning 6 in a row to take that 3 seed. And they really blew out everybody in those 6 wins. I'm going to go back and look at their schedule here. They won by 19. They beat Southern Utah by 5. That was in Arlington. They beat Utah Tech by 11, beat Seattle U by 20, beat Utah Valley in Orem by 13, and then beat CBU by 14. So one game in their final 6 wins was within single digits. That's how good UTA was down the stretch. And they had GCU on the ropes twice. So that might be a bold pick, but it might be a good pick, Logan. Let's see. Those are 2 great first-round matchups for the men. Yeah, who do you pick, Nathaniel? That's what we asked. We want to know your picks, right? Let's hear your picks. Michael, ACU women win and UTA women win. So we got some picks here. These are awesome, guys. I love that we're getting more viewers for this show, Daryl. I think it means we're doing a decent job, right? Is that why people watch this, or is it just because we're talking heads that really get confused at times?
I think it's because we do a good job and we know our stuff.
Nathaniel jumping on the KT Turner bandwagon. Logan, let's go. He joins Logan Packer. It's going to be a fun tournament. It really is. We're going to have some fun with it. I'll be down there Tuesday through Saturday. Daryl, I think you get in Wednesday. Is that right?
Yes.
So Daryl
right before that opening session. Huh?
Yeah. So we'll be down there bringing coverage. We'll have a straight out of WAC after hours on Monday night after the WAC awards are announced. I also have to wait until after the WAC podcast recording with Kendra and Eric Danner that I'll be on Monday after those awards are announced. But we'll be back here on Monday. Let's see. We got more comments coming. I love this stuff. Jason, UVU and SFA on the men's side, UTA and Tarleton on women's side. Tarleton upsetting ACU in that first round. Mikey, you guys are killing it. Great to have a place to talk about hoops. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. We try to do what we can. It's a great league, and it deserves to be talked about more. Let's see. Nathaniel, UVU and ACU men, but my brother graduated from SFA, so I'd like to rub that in. Nice. Well played. Michael has ACU over SFA and UVU over CBU. Yes, I'm a homer. I'm not sure who you're a fan of, so you might have to comment about who you're a fan of to prove that you're a homer. But anyways, great time. Daryl, Any last thoughts on this final day of the regular season? Something that maybe stood out that impressed you, whether it be men or women?
That CBU women's game, Nook Bosch Duran in a spot start for Felipa Barros was huge. Season high in minutes played, 16 big points that the Lancers needed every one of them.
So I was told Felipa Barros sprained her ankle during the celebration on Saturday or on Thursday night when they won the regular season title. She was held out tonight for precaution so that she could be ready for Friday's semifinals. So,
and it was nice to see Chloe Lemon back too.
Yeah, good to see Chloe Lemon back. She was big tonight too. She had a big and one play. She didn't hit the free throw, but it was a big shot at the time because CBU was struggling to find their offense. And here's the kicker. CBU won that game without Chloe Webb in overtime, or without Chloe Webb for the final 4 minutes of regulation too.
And the overtime. And
Kinsley Barrington was out. She fell out before overtime as well. So big time win for Jared Olson's team. On the men's side, I'm going to say it's Utah Valley. And yes, call me a homer. Yes, call me this, call me that, whatever. I don't care. They went in and beat Tarleton. So GCU fans should be ecstatic for UVU. Ecstatic at UVU. All right. They beat Tarleton, which not many other teams have beat Tarleton at Tarleton this year. Right. And then they beat ACU to earn that 5 seed. So, how many teams have swept that West Texas road trip this year? GCU didn't. They got swept in it.
I think they might be the only ones, come to think of it.
Yeah, I mean, no, because Southern Utah did it too. Southern Utah did that too. That was when Southern Utah was playing their best basketball. They beat Tarleton and beat ACU in that trip, but those are the only two. So UVU, Utah Valley, impressive week to get that 5 seed. GCU, obviously, the dominant performance tonight to clinch that first outright regular season title. Big time for Bryce Drew's crew, especially considering they had a week off. So big time win. A couple other comments coming in here. Let's see. Adam, how would it be Springs? I think you meant Frank Stain because you said Frank Stain takes out his old team. He did take out his old team today, knocked him out of WAC Vegas. So he's going to the WAC tournament, and his former team isn't. Big time win. Mikey Chavez, huge Utah Valley fan this week, of course. Yes, they helped you guys. I don't want to say they helped you guys, but they kind of did because they beat Tarleton, which gave you guys, 1, a share of the regular season title, and 2, the outright regular season title because there was no chance that Tarleton could tie unless GCU lost, and GCU wasn't going to lose after seeing that they clinched on Thursday. Michael Bowen, thanks, guys. Great show. Thanks, Michael, for tuning in. And my guy, Hunter, I'll be seeing you in WAC Vegas. Hopefully, I think you said you were going to be there. I can't remember. I hope so. But anyways, great job all season, guys. Can't wait to see the coverage during WAC Vegas. Appreciate it, everybody. And we are going to shut it down for the night. The regular season is over. Tourney time is upon us.
Get your votes in for those awards before that poll expires. What is it, tomorrow night?
Tomorrow. And on Monday morning, we'll put out the polls. Obviously, I think Tyan Grant Foster is running away with WAC Player of the Year and WAC Newcomer of the Year per the fan vote. Looks like Bryce Drew is going to win the Coach of the Year in the fan vote. I think it was kind of neck and neck with Colin Moore and Emmanuel Innocente for the Defensive Player of the Year. And I think Emmanuel Innocente right now has the Freshman of the Year award going for him by the fan vote. So we'll see on the women's side. Big time things. It's that time of year. It's March. It's so fantastic, Daryl. It's so fantastic. Yeah. He's the captain of. He's a moderator of Wildcat Chat, Michael. Okay, that makes sense. That's cool. So yeah, you're an ACU guy all the way. I get it. Jeff Knight is one of my faves whenever I go to Abilene. He did recommend taquitos from Whataburger on the regular. So anyways, guys, it's been a pleasure tonight. The regular season is now over. The GCU men are the outright regular season champions. The CBU women are the outright regular season champions. And we have our bracket, we have our field. WAC Vegas, 4 days away. Oh, it's going to be fun, Daryl. And you want me to post the bracket? Somebody wanted me to post the bracket real quick again. Look at the bracket. Here it is for all of you that just jumped on or been checking it out. This side is the women's side. The right side is the women's side. The left side is the men's side. So there you go. All Texas on one side of the men's bracket, all non-Texas on the other side. And then on the women's side, you got all purple on one side and no purple on the other side. So kind of interesting. But with that being said, let's see. Yeah, so that's about it from here for the night. Again, appreciate all the support, you guys. It's been awesome. Daryl and I and Chelsea chipped in a little bit too. We can't do this without you. We appreciate everything you guys bring, the questions, the interactions. It's awesome. This continues to grow and get bigger, and we just appreciate it so much.
One last shout out to all of our regular season broadcast crews at all the schools this year. You guys did a great job bringing the sounds and the pictures and the games to all of us across the 3 time zones in 5 states that cover the WAC.
Yep. 100%. Guys, like I said, 4 days away. Maybe we'll have another shot put heave with an OMG reaction from the broadcaster when it goes in. Maybe we'll have a 4-point play that completes an epic 23-point comeback that hurt my feelings last year. I'm not going to lie, Todd Simon and the Southern Utah Thunderbirds, you know what I'm talking about. Maybe we'll have an epic 3-point shooting contest by, GCU again, or maybe another team. Maybe UTA will be that team this year. Maybe ACU women will be that team on the women's side because they can shoot the lights out from 3 as well. So it's going to be epic. It's going to be fun. WAC Vegas always is. The wackiness continues for at least another week. And we're looking forward to it. Again, everybody, thank you for tuning in on all these shows, on all the podcast episodes, on reading our articles and our content. We much appreciate it. You guys are awesome. The nation continues to grow, and we're just gonna go. I'm gonna answer this one question. Are you posting it on Twitter? No, because technically it's not official until the WAC posts it. That was what I think it's gonna be after the seeding comes out, so I just wanted to share that so we can talk about it. But I'm pretty sure that's what it's going to be tomorrow when everything's updated and the bracket is official. But for now, everybody, again, enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you from WAC Vegas. We will have a Straight Outta WAC after hours on Monday night after the official WAC awards are posted for the teams. So I'm pretty confident saying this. Tyan Grant Foster will be the player of the year on the men's side. Chloe Webb will be the player of the year on the women's side. Am I wrong, Daryl? Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not wrong at all. I mean, they both impressed all the way through.
Yep. So that's my prediction. Tyan Grant Foster, player of the year on the men's side. Chloe Webb on the women's side. Tyan Grant Foster, newcomer of the year on the men's side. And newcomer of the year on the women's side will be Gia Adams from UT Arlington.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be G. Adams.
So that's my prediction for those 2 awards. The rest of them, I think Jared Olson wins Coach of the Year. I think Bryce Drew wins Coach of the Year. Both the regular season outright champions. Why not? Why wouldn't you vote for them? And my camera just went out, which means, guys, that it's time for me to turn this off. We'll use the FaceTime camera now. My camera gets hot, guys, so I'm sorry. Anyways, one last comment here. Fun. See you Monday night. All right, Michael, we will. And everybody enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks for listening to the Straight Outta WAC podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other podcasting platforms. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Remember to follow WAC Hoops Nation on all your favorite social media platforms.